When you say cheese, it makes you smile. Because you go, cheese, and suddenly you smile.
Welcome to the Turkey edition of your West Wing Week, your guide to everything that's happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and beyond. This week, the president wrapped up his trip to Asia, a cross-continental journey that took him to Antalya, Turkey, Manila, Philippines, and concluded in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. He honored Medal of Freedom recipients back at the White House and pardoned a couple of lucky turkeys before Thanksgiving. That's November 20th to November 26th, or This Turkey is Hereby Pardoned.
Give a big round of applause.
On Friday, the president wrapped up his trip to Manila with a meet and greet with embassy staff and their families.
You guys do a great job representing our country.
Okay, everybody give me a high five.
High five. Stand up. Give me a high five.
Then he was wheels up to Kuala Lumpur, the last stop on his three-country trip around the world. There, he participated in a town hall with young Southeast Asian leaders. Ambassador Susan Rice was backstage before the event. I'll let her take it away.
I know that this event, the Young Southeast Asian Leaders Initiative, is the event of all of these that the President is most looking forward to. It gives them an opportunity to share with him their experiences, their concerns, their perspectives, and at the same time to ask almost anything they want of the President of the United States.
What do you want to see from young people like us in the future when you get old?
Well, the first thing I want from young people is to stop calling me old.
Later, the president held a bilateral meeting with the Prime Minister of Malaysia. On Saturday, the president started the day by talking trade to leaders from the largest markets for U.S. exports at the ASEAN Business and Investment Summit. Later, the president went to the Dignity for Children Foundation, a school and training center for more than 1,000 students, many of them refugees.
I have. She's a friend of mine. Yeah.
The president spoke powerfully about how America is at its best when we give a chance to refugees who've risked everything for the chance to live a life free of persecution. On Sunday, before a day of meetings, the president greeted the staff and families of the U.S. Embassy in Malaysia.
All right, everybody say, hey, cheese!
Then, world leaders and their delegates filled the halls of the Kuala Lumpur Convention Center for the East Asia Summit. And later, the president sat down with the Prime Minister of Singapore for a bilateral meeting. The last event on the president's trip around the world was a news conference, where the president answered some questions about ISIL.
I'll take the last question first.
After a whirlwind week of meetings, the president and his delegation bid adieu to Asia and headed home, crossing multiple time zones and arriving home back at the White House in the wee hours of Monday morning. On Tuesday, the president welcomed President François Hollande of France to the White House to discuss international efforts to combat ISIL. They joined reporters in the East Room for a news conference.
Even as we are relentless in the face of evil, we draw on what's best in ourselves and in the character of our countries. Make no mistake, we will win, and groups like ISIL will lose. And standing with allies like France, we will continue to show the world the best of American leadership. Vive la France.
That afternoon, the president honored 17 distinguished Americans.
Today, we celebrate some extraordinary people. Innovators, artists, and leaders who contribute to America's strength as a nation. And we offer them our highest civilian honor, the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
On Wednesday, the president convened a meeting with members of his national security team to discuss efforts to protect the homeland over the holidays.
I want the American people to know, entering the holidays, that the combined resources of our military, our intelligence, and our homeland security agencies are on the case. They're vigilant, relentless, and effective.
Later that day, the president welcomed some impressive student entrepreneurs to the Oval Office.
I'd like to begin by having everybody in this room please closing your eyes.
All right. I got to open my eyes.
And I wanted to find a way to decrease the amount of people who are getting sexually assaulted.
The president continued the tradition of pardoning a turkey, freeing these two, named Honest and Abe, from a Thanksgiving dinner table.
He's a natural.
After the turkey pardon, the first family volunteered at Friendship Place, their own service before supper tradition.
How are you, sir? How are you doing, Mr. President? I'm blessed. How you doing, young man? How are you? I'm doing great. It's the best day of my life, sir. Oh, man. Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
So remember to stay engaged with us online and check us out on social media. And thanks again for checking out this edition of your West Wing Week. And from everybody here at West Wing, be sure to have a safe and happy Thanksgiving.